Welcome to Flipping Houses for Rookies, the only podcast that shows you how to take back your financial freedom and live the American dream by becoming a real estate investor. Without the banks, without the big wigs, and without the realtor's nonsense. This isn't about selling you coaching or some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about opening your eyes to the possibilities so you can make real chunks of dough, buy your life back, and become a free American. With over 400 episodes aired, we're delivering everything you need to know to find deals, talk to sellers, structure deals, and win big. It's time to take action, change your mindset, and claim what's yours. Real estate is the key to your freedom, and we're here to show you the way. Subscribe now and catch our latest episodes on YouTube at Flipping Houses for Rookies, because your financial freedom starts today. Now, here are your hosts, Bill and Pete.
All right, here we are at yet one more episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. When will it ever end? Oh, me goodness. Episode number 439. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill, and hello, everybody.
Here we go. So today's episode title is Creative Real Estate Financing Deals. Real examples for today's economy.
Oh.
Here's the description. $100 plus 0 equals $10,000. Sound like funny math, right? Well, if you have $0 in your pocket right now, and you need to make serious cash in the next 30 plus days, the next 57 minutes could be the most important time you spend for you and your family this year. Here's why. I have actual deals in front of me that I would normally only share with high-end private coaching clients to jumpstart their income so they can pay down some debt, invest in other properties, or even take some time off. If you are stuck with wondering how real estate can fill your pockets quick, then these real live deal examples will transform you from thinking it is impossible to seem like this is a 5th grade math test. Listen, I know this sounds too good to be true, but if I put the proof in the profits and show you in simple, plain math instructions, you will soon want to talk to sellers and present these offers that sellers feel stupid saying no, and making you a 5-figure paycheck in the next 30 plus days. Interesting.
Mm.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's a good way to end the year to start the year.
Exactly.
Because, things are
How
about
do you
to
like
change.
that math? How do you
I like that.
math?
Well, that's my math. I've done it.
100 plus 0 equals 10,000. Yep, we do
I'm
it.
trying to remember if my first deal I even gave the guy. No, I didn't even give the guy 100 on the first deal. I just went with 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so let's do a little bit of housekeeping here. What I've been doing is telling folks, if you leave us a 5-star review for this episode, any other episode, or just subscribe to us, or anything like that, and you actually take a picture of it and send it, evidence. If you get it, okay, so let's start over. If you leave a 5-star review and you take a picture of it and send it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, that's flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, I have all kinds of goodies. I have a $5,000 course I can give to you. It's not $5,000. How to make your first $5,000, which we have sold for I think as high as $500 at one point, and it went down I think to $297 or something like that. I also have scripts, the scripts that we're using today in Creative REI Reply, because that is our software company where people pay hundreds of dollars to use our services. It's actually our agency where we actually put creative real estate entrepreneurs in business with. It's like a franchise almost. It's a business in a box. It's got everything you need, right? And we got some killer specials going on right now, and you can find that at creativereireply.com. But the important thing is I have scripts and I have a calculator and I have some really cool stuff that if you are serious about doing what we're talking about today, then you'll want some of these tools. So the way you get those tools is you leave us a 5-star review, you take a picture of it, and when you send the email to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, you need to include the picture because I have received some of these emails and I have no evidence. They're just asking for the free stuff. And as generous as I could be and send them back, I decided not to do that because if you can't follow my instructions here, I'm being rude. If you can't follow my instructions to take a picture of a 5-star review and send it in an email, I'm a little bit nervous about you doing some of these deals because you got to follow instructions. You got to do what you say you're going to do.
You got a point. You got a point, dude.
So, anyways, that's it. So make sure you like us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching or listening to us. If you want to go to either YouTube, you can go to Flipping Houses for Rookies, or you can go to Creative REI Reply. You can go to Facebook or Flipping Houses for Rookies and LinkedIn. We actually record this video we live stream this episode when we record it on those 3 platforms. Thursday mornings, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, enough of that crap. Okay, Pete, this is it.
Here it comes.
This is it. True gold with a weird but profitable calculator.
Oh, okay.
$100 plus 0 equals 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you may think we have gone to the North Pole and commandeered some of Santa's magic dust today. Because it is the day after Christmas, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I assure you, it really isn't magic. It is really revolutionizing your 5th grade math skills. You're just using 5th grade math skills that you might have forgot about because it might have been a little bit of time since you've been in 5th grade.
Maybe.
For some of us, multiple, like a handful of decades.
Yeah, but if you learned it,
and for
you're going to know
others,
it.
For others, Peter, you need 2 hands worth of decades.
Hey there.
Picking up Peter's age.
Yeah, but the difference with Peter is Peter remembers his education. I asked some of my younger students little simple questions. And, oh, that was 5 years ago, dude. If you learned it, you learned it, and you keep it. How far is it to the sun? What's 3% of $10,000? Come on, folks. It's not that hard.
All right, so we're going to take your 5th grade math skills and we're going to put them in correct order or a different way to look at numbers so you like them. Now, I've got 3 children and I've raised a couple on my own. I've raised a couple before I met my first wife. I lived with a girl that had some children. And one thing that I can say with my little observation here is almost all children get to about 4th or 5th grade and they bomb out in math. As soon as you get past plus, minus, division is okay usually. As soon as you get past that, we all get D's and F's. It is common to say, I don't like math. It is common to say, I'm not good with math. So if you're doing that to yourself, you should go back to a few of the other episodes where I was talking about what you tell yourself and what you think of yourself, and you should fix that first. Because here's the truth. Simplicity beats everything.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. The thing with creative financing is not the math, because it's just plus and minus. It's where we put the numbers when.
Hmm.
That's what makes a difference. It's not the math. It's just knowing where to put the numbers when. And that's what we're going to do today with live deals, right? Even if you have a 68-year stint of being a doctor or a lawyer, right? Oh, wait a minute. I skipped something here. Yeah, I skipped the whole sentence here. Sorry.
Go back. Go back.
I gave you the punchline of the joke. And I promise you did not and cannot learn any of this math in school, even if you did a 60-year stint as a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have nieces and nephews that are very. My daughter is working on her PhD in English,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't seem to get her to do some of this math. It's incredible. She's a smart girl, but she says, "Dad, math's not my thing." I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, but it's worse than that. My wife is a bookkeeper. She does math all day long. But you go over some of the numbers, and somebody of that will go, "No, you can't do that. Nobody would do that. How do you do that?" No, they don't believe it, even when you can do it at first, right?
This is true. We've done it in many of audiences.
Oh, yeah, and the first thing they look at it like, "No, you can't do that." Like, do it all the time.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mr. Hawthorne. Go ahead. Enlighten us.
And guess what? Done the way I show you today will make more than your average doctor or lawyer. I actually had a course one time, how to make more money than your doctor and lawyer. and then I changed the name of the course, how to make more money than your doctor and lawyer put together.
Oh, man.
I know this because every time my attorney hands me a check, because here in Connecticut we're a judicial state, so we use attorneys to close.
Yep.
He says, "Oh man, Bill, I got to learn how you do this." And
does.
you know, Peter, because you've heard him say that.
Oh, yeah, he does. He looks at the check and he goes like, he looks at his check, he looks at our check.
Yeah. And don't worry, these deals I'm going to talk about today, my attorney or closing agent never sees them. Actually, the deals I'm going to talk about today don't even have to go to closing. They don't have to go to an attorney or a closing agent.
Mm-hmm.
They could be done at the kitchen table with your seller, with your buyer, under the radar.
Mm.
Nobody has to know except the ones hanging.
Well, when you do a rental agreement or a lease, you have to have a lawyer sign that?
Exactly.
So, it's done. Something is
There
done.
you go.
Listen to Bill.
But realize this first. The legal disclosure. The deals I'm about to go over with you in this episode are case studies. They're actually real life deals, but have been done in the past. And although these numbers and profits are extremely typical, I know because I'm in 3 coaching groups a week, and I hear them all the time. I do them all the time. I cannot guarantee your future performance, success, and success depends on really various factors, including market conditions, your skill, available resources, and your time and intention of implementation. The last one is the most important, right? So this is not a get-rich-quick business. What I'm going to teach you today is the fastest way to make money in real estate, because most think you have to buy, acquire, get debt, fix, and then sell, and then get a check. And I've not been able to do that for less than 3 or 4 months. But on a good day, I've had it take me as long as over a year to do it at times.
Oh, yeah.
Then for those people that think they're being slick, they go off and they talk to the kings, which I won't name their names, of how you're going to wholesale property. And it sounds pretty damn good when you're in the seminar. And it sounds pretty damn simple, which is the reason why they're teaching it to you, is because it's simple for them to teach it to you while they're off doing other types of deals. They're not doing wholesale deals like they're teaching. They'll do them. People like me, I do wholesale deals, right? I mean, you and I, Peter, this is a couple of years ago at this point. Actually, it's probably before COVID, I think. You and I had a deal, right? I bought it, and we had, I think, $38,000 wholesale money made. And I said to you, well, you know what? I'm going to call my contractor I haven't talked to in a couple of years. If he says, yes, I can do the job, then we'll renovate it, fix it, and flip it because I don't want the aggravation. If not, we'll just sell it to the wholesaler. He said yes, and we ended up making $93,000.
That's
My
right.
point is when you buy deals the way we're going to talk about today. I don't know if we're going to get to some of those deals. I'm going to keep it easy today. Maybe we'll do another one next week. Which reminds me, if you're on my email list, you will know this, but on January 11th, 2025, I will be doing a subject to one-day event by Zoom. So if you're on my email, you'll be hearing about that very soon. The only one that knows about this right now is Sean, my other partner, because he's going to help me with it. So, subject to event. You might be listening to this podcast after that date. If that's the case, I will be recording it, and you could buy the recording if you send a support ticket to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. It will be a lot more money than when you come live, though, I promise. It should be almost 5 times the amount of money. So anyways, I just want to tell everybody today, Peter, that this is not financial advice. It is to be understood that we're just doing this for educational purposes based on real experiences that myself or coaching clients have had. So realize that
Understood.
It is the average. A lot of people do these deals. But if you can't do these deals, there might be something going on either in your head or in your universe or in your market or something like that. And you might need a coach. And if you want a coach, send a ticket to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, and I will send you a link, and we can do a free 45-minute consultation to see if you qualify for my program. And I have to tell you right now, it's in 10 years, it's the lowest it's ever been. I only got a few guys in there because I'm not promoting that at all because I got too many other things going on. And, there you go. You ready, Peter?
I'm ready to go.
First example I have. These are typed out, so I'm going to read them first, and then we're going to talk about them, okay?
Okay.
First example I have, payment in the rears, and they have no equity. Situation, seller has a $200,000 house, which you like because it's pretty, right? So what's the difference between a pretty house and an ugly house?
Well, we're not talking cosmetics necessarily. We're talking it's livable. It might be dated, but everything works. There's no problem. It can be insured. You can move in.
So we should really say that, but it's an industry standard, so yes. So just because it has a 20-year-old kitchen doesn't mean it's an ugly house. Right? So pretty houses, it's all functioning and you could live in it. Ugly houses usually aren't. Okay? In my world, anyways.
Yeah, that works.
So seller has a $200,000 house that you like because it's pretty, but you discover the house has no equity or it's over leveraged. And there are 2 payments behind the mortgage company. So there are 2 payments behind. Let me see here. The payments are $1,410 a month. Right?
Yeah.
So the loan balance is $210 plus the 2 payments.
Plus the 2 payments. Ooh. And the house is $200,000. So now we're at...
It's comping at $200,000. So let's see. 1410 times 2 is $2,820 plus $10,000. So they owe $12,820 more than what it's worth.
Yeah.
So other than the old round file to my left over here, aka the garbage pail, what do you do with this deal?
Yeah. Well, it's not really worth $200,000 because if it was $200,000 and you sold it, you don't get $200,000. So it's worse than that. You got to spend $30,000 just to sell it. So now we're really behind the 8 ball. So you pass this one up and you look for a better deal, right?
Yeah. So what Peter's talking about is the closing cost runs anywhere from, I say, on a FSBO it's 10%, with a realtor to be 15%. So what he's saying is 10% of 200,000 would be 20 grand. So you're really only getting 180.
Yeah.
So it's at this point it's $32,820 upside down.
Yep.
right? Because if they sell it, they're going to get 180 in cash. That's if they do a good job,
Yeah.
right? But if they don't, it could be worse. It could be they only get 175,
Yeah.
right? So how does this work? I'm asking you.
You're asking me?
Okay.
Okay.
I know how to do it.
Well, I just thought of a good way to explain it. A house is an asset, can be an asset or a liability. Right now, if you sold the house, it'd be a liability because you'd lose money. But a house is an asset when you keep it and you turn it into a piggy bank and you have it make you money. And in the long run, it evens out. But you're keeping it
So
and using
let's
it.
back up with those words, because what is Mr. Kiyosaki? It's Robert, right?
Yes, it is.
I got
Robert
it right.
Kiyosaki.
Robert
He did.
Kiyosaki. What does he say in Cash Flow Quadrant? He says assets bring you money.
Yeah.
Liabilities take away your money.
Yep.
So even though you need to live in your house, and this is the biggest confusion that I had for a very long time, is even though you live in your house and you think you are getting equity in your house and you think that's an asset, it's not. It's really a liability for you. It's the bank's asset because they own the loan.
Yeah.
They have the debt. They have the encumbrance on the house, so they could take it from you anytime they want.
Yeah, but worse than that to me is, so you have a $2,000 payment, right? So you pay $2,000 to get maybe $500 of equity. So that's not a great deal. You spend $2,000 to get $500. Not a great deal at that point.
Like your car is a liability. You pay $300 a month for your car, and yeah, you get to go back and forth to work and go to the grocery store, and you have the freedom of doing whatever it is you choose to do, but it's really a liability because you're paying the $300. And you're getting something back. I mean, there is the argument of not everything is monetary, not everything is money. But we are talking about money, so that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
granted, liabilities are not bad. Liabilities are not bad. You have to have liabilities. You have to have a house. You have to have a car. You have to have a grocery store. And you got to buy groceries. You got to pay your electric bill and your heating bill and air conditioning bill and whatever you have to survive.
Yep.
Right? And we all have some sort of an income to do that, whether it be a W-2, and that dirty word we call job, just over broke, or if you are a self-employed entrepreneur, that is worse than the JOB guy because you're just scrounging around making just enough money to either pay payroll or yourself. It's kind of the same way when you're self-employed. We make it sound like it's a great thing when you're self-employed. The difference between the two is not whether or not you have more money or you're broke. The difference is when you go to do your taxes, you have less write-offs with a W-2 form than you do if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. So an entrepreneur, when you're a W-2 person, you get your money and your taxes are from there. So it's what they call after-tax money. Right. So write-offs are after-tax money. So like if you have an investments and all that kind of stuff, it's after you get your W-2, and then you write down more. Where self-employment is before tax money. So what happens is you could write off a lot of things and bring your income down and have a less tax bill. Right? And most people are scrounging around, especially the last 3 or 4 years with the type of government we've had, with inflation and all that kind of stuff. Most people are just scrounging around, just trying to get their bills paid, and they don't think about their tax money. But I promise you, you'll think about it as soon as you start making a little bit of bucks. You do a couple of these deals we're talking about, you get to the end of the year, you're going to want to do something with the things we're talking about because you won't want the tax bill.
Yep.
All right, so we have a $200,000 house. They owe $210,000, and they're behind $2,820 in payments. So you're not going to tell them what to do? You need me to do it?
Well, you want me to get into the details?
I want you to do whatever you think.
Okay. Well,
so let's do it this way. What's the first number you should figure out about this deal right now? I haven't said it yet. What's the first number you got to figure out?
Well, we already know what we owe.
We know how much. We know what we know how much we have to buy it for.
Right. Well, the next thing would be if we're keeping it, like I said, if you keep it, it has a chance to make you money. But you have to know what does it cost every month and what could you get every month. So you see what your monthly income or outgo is going to be. You're going to break even, make a little more.
That's the second thing you're going to do. The first thing you're going to do is how much can you sell it for? You got to know that. So whether you keep it or hold it, whether you hold it or flip it or whatever you got to do, you got to know. Because this is the reason why I'm doing this today. This is not an accident that I'm doing this today, because I've been giving you guys multiple podcasts, and I keep preaching that the buyer's the one that's going to pay you the money.
Mm-hmm.
So what matters in this deal? Does it matter that the seller owes $200? Does it matter that the seller is $1,410 behind in payments? Does that matter really at all?
Not compared to what it's going to sell for. You're right.
Because who's going to pay the $1,428? I'm sorry, the $2,800 and whatever it is, $2,820. Who's going to pay that?
Hopefully not us.
Payments.
So we'll get a buyer, get some money, and pay that down, pay that off. So you start even.
So who's going to pay? Who's going to pay for that is the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not getting there yet, but we're looking at what would the buyer pay for. Yeah. So when we look at what would the buyer pay for, it brings us right into, and I hope you guys are seeing how simple this is. Mm-hmm. We're walking right into money now, money monthly, money later.
Sure.
So let's say the buyer would give us. So it's feasible, because the one thing that I get all the time is how much can you mark up a property? Okay. So there's two rules of two schools of thought. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
If your seller is willing to let you do terms, monthly payments, you could take the price and add 5 to 10%. I wouldn't go more than 10%. And on some $800,000 houses, I wouldn't go that much.
Yeah.
Unless you're below market value, right? But you can go 5 to 10% above market value. Anything below $500,000 or $600,000, you usually get away with. But on a $200,000 house, we can definitely do this.
Sure.
So, because now think about this. Where this seller has two choices with this property.
Mm-hmm.
They can walk away and foreclose, or sell to somebody like us that can see the numbers correctly, or they could, I guess they could rent if they wanted to.
They could keep it. Yeah, well, we run into people do that. I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, so they just kept it, and they didn't want to, but they hung on to it.
It's what we call an accidental landlord. But here's my point: is so two schools of thought. So if they're willing to do terms, and we don't like to do less than 3 years, 36 months. It used to be 2 years, but now it's 3 years. Or we can pay cash. If we pay cash, then we have to have a 5% discount minimum.
Yeah.
In this house, we can't do that. So when we're selling for a 5% discount, I usually like to take that. So like in this case, it's a $200,000 house. 5% would be $10,000. Right? It's not really worth it for us to do an option deal on this, because for a $200,000 house, what are you gonna do? Put it on the market for $195 and make $5,000, so you're $5,000 below market value? You're not gonna attract a lot of people, a lot of buyers, because you're only $5,000 below market value. There's not much money to be made there. Now on a $400,000 house, you could do that, because on a $400,000, which by the way, in America, the average price of a house is $419 right now. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So on a $400,000 house, if you got a discount for an option agreement of 5%, that's $20,000, and then you can turn around and put $5,000 on top of it, you can sell it for $385 and all that kind of stuff, right? But this house doesn't offer us that.
Nope.
So the data that we have right now, let me just summarize it, because I'm kind of talking in circles, is it's worth $200,000. They owe $210,000 plus $2,820 in past payments. Right?
Yeah.
The only choices they have right now is to sell to somebody like you for a 3-year payment, right? Or walk away and let it foreclose, or become the landlord themselves and not know how to do any of this.
Yeah.
Right? Accidental landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So our offer is going to be to them the $200,000, and we'll make the payment.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what will the buyer going to pay. Now pay attention to this, because we're going to sell this property on a lease with an option to purchase. So we're looking at money now, money monthly, money later. The only way to do this deal, as far as I'm concerned, is money now, because you don't want to stay in the deal. So there is no money later. I mean, no money monthly, no money later. It's just money now.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we're going to sell this deal is we're going to market it for $220,000 and $10,000 down, because they owe $210,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to sell for $220,000, get $10,000 down, right?
Yep.
And then they still owe the seller $210,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, here's what happens. You're signing an option agreement, which means you have the right to purchase, but not the obligation. This deal is just toilet paper right now. It's worth nothing. It's not worth anything. It's on a scrap napkin, and we're ready to throw it away. It's worth nothing until we find a buyer that's willing to pay $220,000 and give us $10,000 down.
Mm-hmm.
This is why the buyer is so important, because this garbage deal then turns into a $10,000 profit for you with the right buyer. Because all we did was move the numbers around. Why would the buyer pay $220,000 for a house that's worth $200,000?
My exact thought. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
go ahead, Peter. You said.
Well, the first 5 times you said that at the first workshops you did, me and the audience are looking at each other like, who's stupid enough to pay that? Well, figure this way: you've got a family that is renting and renting and renting. They can't buy a house for whatever reason, the credit, the down payment, something, which is a lot of people. They can't quite, so they're going to rent for the rest of their lives. How much are they wasting? So for them to have the opportunity to buy a house for a little more, in the long run, what's the difference? They're in a house. They're going to buy it. In a few years, that house is going to be worth $240,000, $280,000, and they'll have it. It'll work out in the long run. The money they save on rent is worth it. But also that emotional thing, like we got a house, the numbers actually work in the long run, but they're stuck in a rental with kids, wrong school district, living in the parents' basement.
So the point on the rent is they're paying it to the landlord, and the other thing they're getting back is the usage. Now, the same thing is happening here. They're paying for the house and just getting usage. They're not getting principal reduction. But they have the option agreement attached to the to the lease, which means they could get their money back if they purchase and turn it into equity.
Yeah.
Or profit.
Yep.
Right? So the easier way to explain what Peter just said is, if you bought my computer today for me, if you bought your computer for me today for $1,000 and gave me $1,000 in cash, you paid $1,000 for the computer, no magic. But if you paid $1,000 for my computer today, and you swiped your credit card and paid for it over 24 months, you're paying more than $1,000 for that computer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the American way. I didn't make that up. I'm just following the rules. That's how this person's going to be. I'm going to tell you, I have sold hundreds and hundreds of properties. Myself, personally, nose to nose, toe to toe. I've done the documents, I've done the deals, I've deposited the money, I've done all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Almost always, 99.9% of the time, they ask the price of the house way into the deal. How much is this house? They only want to know how much is the down payment and how much are the monthly payments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is. Now, Peter's scenario was pretty nice. They're renting this and that, right? Now, let's take a divorced couple where the divorce wasn't so good. And now you got one of the two spouses, the girl or the guy of that marriage, is now living in the mother's basement, and they don't want to be under the mother's regime, or they're in a bad school system, or they're trying to keep them in the same school system they were in, so they're driving 45 minutes a day every morning, 45 minutes, every afternoon 45 minutes, to keep them in the school where they used to go to.
Oh, right.
I mean, there's so many scenarios that you can't even fathom them. You can't even write a book on this because there's so many of them. So many scenarios of why someone will want to move. 80% of the population looking for a property do not qualify for a mortgage, especially now. Right? You go from a 15-year 3% to 5% interest stint to now it's 6 and 7%. It's like the payments are just way crazy. I'm having trouble with this with my rents. I got 2 people that are in properties that I have problems with. That I'm actually going to sell the properties because I don't want to deal with it anymore. Because I got a tenant on a first floor on a 3-bedroom apartment paying $11.25, giving me big balls about paying the rent because he wants some repairs done, and I have an insurance problem, right? And now he hasn't paid his rent this month. And so normally I would chase him. Nope. I'm going to go through one of my folders here. I have an eviction. Where's he going to go to get 3 bedrooms for $11.25? The people upstairs have a 4-bedroom. They're paying $1,600 or $1,700 upstairs.
Yeah.
He can't. And I have another one that they blew the furnace up on. They literally put a match in there and blew up the furnace. And I have a $16,000 furnace I got to put in there, right? And they're bitching at me, right? Well, their rent is $1,025 for a 2-bedroom apartment that I just recently put about $16,000 or $17,000 into it, so it's nice. Where are they going to go? They have no place to go. They're going to a hotel room paying $200 a night for a hotel room. How are they gonna live for $1,025? Well, the mortgages are the same way. Where do you find a $1,200 mortgage anymore? You don't. It's impossible. Not with 6 and 7% interest rates. That's if you got good credit. If you got bad credit, forget about it.
Yeah, 6 and 7 doesn't sound like big numbers, but years ago you could buy a house for $100,000. Now it's $400,000. It makes a big difference when the nut that you're starting out with is that big. Every 1% is like a lot.
All right, so now let's run through this deal and then move on to the next one.
Sure,
okay?
Sure.
So the house is worth $200,000. The seller is asking and owes $210,000. And they're 2 payments behind of $1,410 per payment, so they're $2,820 behind. So they're $12,420 over market value. We're going to sign an option agreement with them. We're going to go put it on the market for 90 days. And we're going to look for, and you're going to sell it much more than 90 days, but within the next 30 days, if the house is livable and it's pretty and all that kind of stuff, you're going to find a buyer to pay $220,000, give you $10,000 for a down payment. Now, on an option agreement, that's called a non-refundable option consideration deposit. Okay, you're going to give your seller $100 for that option. Your buyer is going to buy that option from you. You're going to assign it to your buyer, and they're going to pay $10,000. So you bought an option for $100. You sold it for $10,000. You didn't buy and sell a house. You bought and sold the options of the property. The right to buy it, but not the obligation. All you did was buy the rights. This is like buying oil rights or buying gold rights or buying mineral rights. Right? And then you sell them to somebody else for more money. That's all you're doing. So it's just money now. The $10,000 is the non-refundable deposit. Out of that, you're going to pay the $2,820 for the past payments. And you're going to profit $7,180. For doing what? For talking to a seller, talking to a buyer, and matchmaking. Oh yeah, by the way, how many garbage pails are full? How many garbage pails are full with deals like this?
Well, Bill,
other
there's
investors
no equity.
that don't know not only that, but it's $12,420 more than what it's worth. You're helping a seller that couldn't sell a house. You're helping a buyer that couldn't normally buy a house. And you're making $7,180 for about 2 or 3 hours worth of work. Let's say you're not professional and it's 10 hours worth of work. Where else are you going to go and make $7,180 in 10 hours worth of work? What's that? $710.80 an hour?
Yep.
Where are you going to
Something
do
like
that? Does your doctor make that much money? I don't know about that. Unless he's a surgeon.
Yeah.
Right? Get it?
Oh, that's right.
I don't have to go over it again, right? All right, so we're talking about the great equalizer. Money now, money monthly, money later.
Mm-hmm.
So in this deal, we have money now, we have no money monthly, and there is no money later. Right?
Yeah. Well, there's no equity. I was thinking, should we keep this one? Nah. There's no equity, so you don't have any kind of a cushion if anything goes sideways. So you wouldn't want the liability.
So let's do the same type of a deal. House has 15% worth of equity with payments in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the situation is the seller is already, so we're moving on to another deal, just so you're clear. The seller is ready to walk away from the house. It's too much trouble for them. You find out they have 15% worth of equity and they're flexible on terms. Right? So the balance is $171,000. The loan balance is $171,000.
Mm-hmm.
The monthly mortgage payments are $1,080, PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And there are 3 payments behind, which is $3,240.
And is this the same $200,000 value house?
I believe so. I didn't put it on the top of this paper here, but I think so, yes.
It sounds about right.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
50. Yeah, because 50% would be about $170,000. Okay. It's a similar house then.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is kind of the same deal, except it's and I know that I'm using $200,000 houses, and most people don't have that, but people listen to us all over the country, so some people listen to us and they got $80,000 houses, and some people listen to us and they got $800,000 houses. So I try to do something that's more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, what I start with is, what can I sell it for? What would my buyer want to pay? And I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say this until they put me under the grass and put dirt on my head. Okay? Because this is the way it is. The buyer is going to give you the money for this deal. So how much could you get from a buyer? And more importantly, how could you make this deal so that everyone wants it and they're fighting for this deal? Like this is kind of like Black Friday sale at the iPhone store when Steve Jobs was alive and he was releasing his brand new iPhone, and people camped out at the front doorstep of the iPhone stores to get their telephone because there were only so many made, and you wanted to be the first to have it.
Oh yeah.
So how do you create that scenario? Can you create that scenario? Right? And this is why I say the first thing, once you get numbers, the first thing you got to do is, the first thing you got to do is you got to look at the loan to value ratio. We haven't talked about that. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a calculator and we're going to put $171,000, hit the divide button, and then put in 200,000, and hit the equal button, and it's going to tell us what our loan to value ratio is. In this particular case, it's going to be 15% worth of equity, or 85% loan to value ratio. Right? And you round it up or round it down. Right? The reason why we do that is because then you could take a look at my system and you could say, which one of the deals can I offer? Is this a slot deal with 0% worth of equity? Is this an option deal with 5 to 10% worth of equity? Is a rent to own, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, where we stay in the deal? It's just like a slot deal, but we stay in it. That's 15% worth of equity? Or is it subject to with 20% worth of equity? Or is it retail fix and flip?
Yeah.
70%, wholesale at 60%, and free and clear at 0% worth of loan to value ratio. Right? So we're looking at that so we know where to start making our offers. Right? And if you go to, if you leave us a 5-star review, take a picture of it and email. You got to take a picture of the review. I'm not even gonna go and never mind. I'm not even gonna check and see if it's, well, I want to know where you put it so I can make sure it's not fake. So I shouldn't say that. So leave us a 5-star review at flippinghousesforrookies.com. I'm sorry. Get tangled up here. Leave us a 5-star review at flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. And I will send you a course on how to make your first $5,000. And these numbers I'm giving you and the percentages and all that are all in that course, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay? So if I'm kind of talking over your head right now, don't worry. This is kind of what happens. Right? So here's what I'm going to offer. I'm going to offer the 171 because they're going to walk away. Plus, I'm going to offer the $3,240 to catch up their payments.
How much is it what's the back payments? It was three payments. I got you. 3,200 something. Okay.
Yeah, so it's $1,080 per payment. So it gives
Three
us
times.
$3,240.
Got it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm paying almost $175,000, $174,000 and change. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sell it for $205,000. I'm going to get a $10,000 down payment, which is 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Which means the balance that the buyer owes me is $195. Okay?
Yep.
And I'm going to get $1,600 a month for a lease payment. Why am I going to get $1,600 a month? Because if you use a mortgage calculator at 7% right now, $1,600 is what their mortgage payment would be with the taxes, insurance, principal, and interest. It's going to be $1,600. You don't want them paying less than the mortgage amount. Suppose you were to put them in there for $1,300 a month, and then it comes time for them at the end of their lease term to go get a mortgage, and the mortgage is going to be $300 or $400 a month higher than what they're used to been paying for the last 3 years. It's not going to motivate them to go get a mortgage. So you want to be higher or equal to your mortgage payment when they're going to cash you out. I like it to be higher. I always add money. So $1,600, I probably would do the mortgage, and I probably would add $150 or $200 and tell them the big fat landlord's going to get an extra. You're going to save a few $100s just by not having me as the middleman.
Sure.
So go get a mortgage, right?
Well, anybody renting a property is not renting it for cost.
Right.
Breaking even, they're going to always have to add $200, $300, $400, or else why bother doing it?
The results go like this: you're going to get $10,000 for a down payment, right? And you're going to have to pay the $3,240, so that means you're going to get $6,760 up front. Okay. So
sure.
money now is $6,760. Money now. Okay. Then your money monthly is going to be $520 a month. If you did this for 24 months, not 36, 24 months, you're going to make $12,480. So your money monthly is $520 a month. For 24 months is $12,480. Your money later, which is when your buyer gets a mortgage and pays you off, is going to be $24,000. Because $24,000 comes from the $195. Because you sold for $205, got $10,000 down. They owe you $195, and you owe $171 from there. So that gives you $24,000.
Right.
So this total deal that you put up $100 for, you make $43,240 in 2 years. Now, give me a second here, Peter, because that's not what we would do these days. I'm being ultra conservative. Let me change my numbers here.
Yeah, you can probably just double everything, right? With today's numbers.
No. So what I'm going to do is instead of going to 520 for 24 months, I'm going to go 36 months, which is what we normally would do.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're going to have $6,760 for cash flow. We're going to have $18,720 from the rent payments for 3 years. So that's monthly. And then we're going to have the money later as $24,000. So that puts us at $49,480. So let me ask you this question. If I get a little bit out of character here, I want you to reel me back in, because I got to tell you, this is like somebody just punched. I feel like I just got kicked in the nuts. I feel like, and then when I went down, somebody punched me in the stomach and kicked my head. This is how I feel right now.
Why?
Why in God's green earth would somebody tell me that they can't make a seller phone call? What is so important in your life that you can't pick the phone up and talk to a person on Facebook that is renting a house and say, would you be willing to rent to me for a year or two and then sell it to me? And then do this exact deal with somebody and make $49,000 for a couple hours worth of work. What is in your life that is so freaking important that you can't make a phone call, that you can't talk to somebody, that you can't do this? Why? I don't get it. What is going on in your life? Are you that much of a disaster? Your roller coaster just lost its freaking wheels if you're doing that. This is insane. This is not what it's about. This is pure sanity you're telling yourself. Insanity, I mean. That you can't make a phone call to make $49,480. This deal is literally about 2 hours. If you tried. 5 or 6 hours if you did. What's going on in your life that you can't do this? What excuse are you telling yourself that you can't? Because your feelings might get hurt? F your feelings. It's a $50,000 check. What was the name of that movie where the chick, Bolduc was her name, the pretty girl, the pretty actress, slept with the millionaire for $1 million a night? With the husband?
Oh. Yeah, I don't remember
movie.
the name of it.
It was an old movie. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a price. What is your price to make a phone call?
Well, people get slapped around every day at work for a couple of bucks and yell emotional and what feelings get hurt every day at work. So
listen to me.
It's a difference.
These deals are now. Wait a minute. We're post-COVID, means right after COVID. We're only a year or two out of COVID. For 3 years or 4 years during and after COVID, people were paying $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 above market value. You think these deals aren't out there? Come on. What's not out there is you. You're not out there trying to talk to people. You're not trying, and you want to bitch at me for charging you $997 a Creative REI Replay for a 3-month trial, and I'm going to put these leads in your account every single day, and you want to say to me, Neil, that's too much money to invest in making $50,000. You're going to tell me if I put 6,000 leads into your account over the course of 3 months, you can't find one of these deals? Why? What's wrong? I'm telling you what's wrong. Either you're a wimp and you don't want to get on the phones, so you should pick another job and stop studying real estate because it ain't going to work that way. You're not going to have osmosis, and the money's going to go into your account one day because it floated in there, or you're saying the wrong shit on the phone. One or the other. These are the other two reasons why you don't get $50,000 checks. There are no other reasons. There are none. This is a slam dunk deal. The two of them I just gave to you. Nothing to say, right?
The only thing you could say is if you look at it, you're not hurting the seller. I think this is kind of stupid sentiment. It's just a lie that the only way to make money is take it from somebody. The guy can't get rid of the house. He's over leveraged. He's in trouble, or he's breaking even. He's not getting anything, and you're making something out of nothing. It's like going into the forest, picking up wood off the ground that nobody wants, bringing it to town, and selling it to people for their fireplace or their stove.
Right.
It's just sitting there doing nothing and not going to get anywhere. You're actually helping the person. And forget the guy buying it. The opportunity is what he's getting that he won't get anywhere else. An opportunity.
He doesn't have to go on the forge for 2 hours to find the wood.
Yeah, it's right there. And the guy says, "Well, I'll sell you the wood, and you can do payments on the stove."
Yeah.
And now he's not cold anymore.
Yeah.
There's a way to arrange things so that people work. You have to think it through, but it's already been thunk through. You've got to follow the instructions and the formulas, the patterns.
All right, good, Peter. So let me just wrap this up with this comment, and then I'm going to move on to one more deal before we go, okay?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we make this a subject to deal and just take over the payments? Well, I like to have at least 20% worth of equity in my subject to deals. Like some others that are very popular on social media and that are not old enough to have gone through a few dips. Okay, I think you all know who I'm talking about. Most markets, when they dip not more than 20%. Now, Vegas and Florida have been known to be different, but the rest of the country is not like that. So the worst that's going to happen is if you buy this house subject to, which by the way means that you're getting the deed in your name and the mortgage is staying in your seller's name, you're stuck with those payments. No matter what, you're stuck with those payments.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to make sure you have enough equity, and you need to make sure that people are going to be paying. In the beginning, I don't suggest you do that. I suggest you do these lease option deals, or slot deals as we're calling some of them. The first one was a slot deal, and the next one was a rent-to-own deal. I suggest you do those deals and get used to it. And the reason why I'm telling you that is that's how you test before you invest. Now, if you tested an area and you're comfortable and you know what the buyer is willing to pay, maybe you buy this property and you sell it for $210 instead of $205. Maybe you put the check up for $3,240 because you have it, and you keep the property. But that's after you've tested, and now you're investing because you know what the area is about. You've done enough of these other deals we're talking about. You know what the buyers are willing to do. You know the good areas, the bad areas. You know a little bit more because you've done a handful of those other deals. Okay. Next example. We're going to kind of buzz through this a little bit quicker. House is worth $200,000. The loan amount is $196,000. Seller's asking $210,000. The monthly payments are $1,410 PITI. There's 0 repairs, and the house, the payments are 2 behind. The seller has tried to sell the house with a realtor and couldn't get it done and feels stuck with the house. Seller doesn't have funds to close. Did you hear what I just said? The seller tried to sell with a realtor and couldn't because the realtor probably took too long to figure out that they don't have the money to pay the realtor. So they dropped them like a hot potato, and now they don't know what to do. Okay? So in this particular case, the seller has a $200,000 house, right? And it's kind of the same deal that we talked about before. They're behind on payments, $1,410. This is like the first deal we're talking about, right? Actually, I probably printed it twice. That's why it's like that, right? The point that I'm making here is that the realtor couldn't sell it. So the seller's asking $210, or they owe $210. Actually, they're asking $210. But I'm going to change the deal. They're asking $210. So, what do you tell the seller? I'm not paying you $210. I'm going to take over your mortgage for $200,000 because they can't. What else are they going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to take over your mortgage. We're going to leave your mortgage in place for $200. I'm going to give you a delayed cash out, which means I'm going to find you a person that normally couldn't buy a house or doesn't qualify for a bank mortgage right now, but I'm going to help them get qualified. We're going to put them in the house, and they're going to pay all the expenses. They're going to do all the landlording, so I'm going to assign them all the landlording. They're going to shovel the sidewalks, the snow. They're going to cut the grass. They're going to take out the trash. They're going to change the smoke detector batteries. They're going to do unclog toilets. They're going to do all the landlording.
Mm-hmm.
You become the bank. Okay? Now, listen to me, because I'm not going to do these numbers. I should probably go into the calculator to do this. But we're going to actually sell this house. We're going to actually give them. Let me do the numbers here. 200,000 times 3%. We're going to give them. Why do that? We're going to give them $266,000 for this house. If you use our Grand Slam offer, we're going to show them how they could get cash flow, how they get principal reduction, how they get depreciation, and how they get appreciation. And over the course of 3 years, those four numbers will add up to $66,000. So they're not only going to get $200,000, they're going to get $266,000 on a house they couldn't sell with a realtor. What are you going to sound like when you're talking to them after the realtor just told them they can't sell the house? Which, by the way, could the realtor do this deal? Yeah. Yeah, the realtor could do this. The paperwork's in the MLS. They just don't know how to use it. They're not trained.
No, they're trained to sell, take the money, go home.
Right.
They're not trained to be investors or hang on to properties or make it a long-term thing.
So here's what happens. You're going to use the Grand Slam offer. In other words, the way you talk to somebody with this type of a deal. It's a script with our calculator. It's going to explain to your seller, well, I'm sorry to hear the realtor said that, because I can get you $266,000 for this house over the course of 3 years. What do you mean? You have their attention? Hell yeah. Well, I'm going to give you, the calculator's going to show you, I'm going to give you this much for cash flow. I'm going to give you this much for principal reduction, because the person renting is paying rent. They're not getting principal reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to show you how to get depreciation on your taxes over the course of 27 years. And I'm going to show you how you can get appreciation, because we bake it into the option agreement of 0.25% a month. So whoever is buying it from you is paying 0.25% a month to keep up with the appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to make your past payments of $2,820. Now, Peter, I want to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, because you do this. I don't do this anymore. You do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do it if I have to, but I don't do it as much as I used to in the last year or so, right? Is that making an offer to a seller so good that they feel stupid saying no?
Hell yeah.
They got a $200,000 house that's worth $200,000. They think they want $210,000. We're telling them, no, we're not giving you $210,000. We're going to pay $200,000 and pay the past payments. But if you do that and allow me to put somebody in this house for you for 3 years, 36 months, and make them the new owners, so there's no landlording, because they now own the house. It's like you become the bank, like we were talking about earlier. It's no longer an asset. It's no longer a liability for you. It's now an asset. All you're doing is collecting money, Mr. Seller. This new buyer is going to pay for the grass to get cut. They're going to fix the laundry if it breaks. They're going to put batteries in the smoke detector. They're going to shovel snow. They're going to do everything because they own the house. At least they think they own the house. And they're going to pay everything. And because they're paying everything, and we've taken you from having a liability of $200,000 and losing $20,000 to I'm going to turn it into an asset for you, and I'm going to turn it into a profit for you of $66,000 over the next 3 years. because I'm going to get you cash flow. I'm going to get you principal reduction, depreciation, and appreciation. And all it is knowing those numbers, which is the reason why I created it. All it is an Excel spreadsheet that does all the numbers for you. All you do is put the numbers in, and it tells you all that, and the script follows along with it. So you can explain, this is how I got this number, this is how I got that number. Now, Peter, seriously, I'll give that script to somebody. How much do you think that script is worth if you do one of these deals?
Well, the value of the deal. It's
Minimum.
worth it. Yeah, the 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. But then you get to use it more than once, right?
Yeah.
You get to use it over and over.
In this particular case, we're going to take $10,000 down, and just like I told you on the first deal, we're going to make $7,180. We're going to make $7,180 on a seller that is blown away because they thought they were going to lose $20,000 and they were stuck in the mud. This is like an elephant being in quicksand and just can't get help because the problem is just too large.
Mm-hmm.
And you come along and you use the Grand Slam offer script and say, oh, well, not only can I pay you the $200 and not only can I pay your past payment, but I'm going to get a buyer to go in there that's going to pay you all these other things. So at the end of 3 years, you're going to make an extra $66,000 and not have the liability, or have a lot less of the liability than you ever imagined.
Yeah.
That's incredible. All it takes is for you to get on the telephone and find this person, or text and find this person. I'm going to tell you the easiest place, other than Creative REI Reply, where we put leads in your account every day, for $997 for a 3-month period, I'm going to put 6,000 leads into your account over the course of the 3 months. And my AI robot's going to answer them leads when they text you back. So it's not even going to be, it's not the end all be all. You still should go in and check your leads, but it definitely helps a whole lot when the AI is kind of weeding them out for you while you're working, doing something else. It's incredible. And when you hear these numbers, imagine doing one of these a month. And this is a shit deal, actually. $7,180 is a crap deal, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's $86,000 a year. How many phone calls and how much time do you have to spend on the phone to find these deals? Well, I'll tell you. I have people that have been doing this for 2 years and haven't done this deal. They're on the phones every week. And then I have people that have been in my coaching group that have been with me for 2 years and never been on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, those are the only two reasons. A, you're not on the phones, and B, you're not using the script the right way or saying something wrong on the phone and you're not making deals. No other reason. End of story. It's outflow begets inflow. The more you outflow, the more you get inflow. The more people you call, the more people you dial, the more people you attempt to reach. In fact, I'm going to put this in my chat today. I saw a video that one of my friends sent. That was, I think, on Instagram. And the guy's like, you don't understand, when we get a lead, I think he said that we call them, text them, and email them something like, 13 times in a 24-hour period to get their attention.
Ooh.
I might be wrong on 13. It was maybe it was 23 number. It was a lot of times.
Mm.
The first 24 hours, they bang the crap out of them to get them to respond. And that's the way it is these days. So if you think making one phone call or 2 phone calls, or you got 20 minutes to make a phone call and you're in the real estate business, don't fool yourself. You're not in the business. All right, so Peter, I don't know if we're going to do this again. What do you think? Should we do this again?
Was very realistic. It's very concrete. We talk a lot of ideas and things, but the rubber got to hit the road eventually. So I think it's good to hit this for folks. We haven't talked about the deals in a while, so I like it.
Okay, good.
It's very real.
Send me a support ticket at flippinghouses for rookies@gmail.com. if you want to hear more of these deals, if you think that you, if you can leave us leave us a 5-star review, I'll send you the script, I'll send you the calculator, I'll send you a course that's worth how to make your first $5,000. And that's a few $1,000s worth of stuff, believe it or not, that I'm going to give you for free for just leaving us a 5-star review and send it to flippinghouses4rookies.com. With that said, don't forget to subscribe to us. Don't forget to like us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. And we have now concluded podcast number 439. Thank you for your support. And over to you. We'll talk to you at podcast number 440. Over and out.
This has been Flipping Houses for Rookies. The American Dream. What is it? It's called financial freedom. And with real estate, you'll have it. Without the banks, without the bigwigs, and without the realtors' nonsense. Bill and Pete are two real estate investors with 30 years plus of experience, hundreds of deals under their belts, and a mission to change the way you think about creative real estate. Do be sure to like, rate, and review the show. And after that, hit up our YouTube channel at Flipping Houses for Rookies /streams. We'll be back soon, and see you then on Flipping Houses for Rookies.